So you wish to know the secrets of character sheet. I will tell you the secrets of character sheet. You don't need this. You do need this. This is the player's handbook. If you don't have it, it's online somewhere. You also need a character sheet. Don't ask me why this dice set has 2d8s. I don't know. You also need dice. If you can't find a character sheet, there are free PDFs online, and if you don't have a printer like me, your local library has a printer, most likely. If you don't have a local library, you might have a friend who has a printer. If you don't have a friend, how are you playing this game? But anyway, character sheet. Character sheet, it has 3 pages. This is page 1. This is page 2. And this is page 3. We'll get to those later. Right now we're going to focus on the first page. Right here, your name. That's your name. That's not your name, that's your character's name. This is your name, player name. Your name, class and level, background, race, alignment, experience points, don't worry about that. And then a bunch of this stuff. We're not going to get... I don't have Discord Nitro. Discord's going to kill me. Anyway. Where to start? Well, this is where your personality stuff goes. Hit points. Where do I start? Let's start with your race. So your race gives you bonuses and other things like value, dependent on your race. You probably are a human if you're watching this, I would hope. And so humans get like some stuff. Did not prepare for this. I don't need to prepare for this. I may have needed to prepare for this just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit. How do I start this? How do I do this? What is life? What is anything? Okay. Oh boy. Hi, I have this half-completed character sheet. It's a level 1. Got a name. It's got a class and a race. It's got an alignment. It's got a background. It's got my name. Don't worry about that. And it's got everything here that you get at level 1 from a combination of your race. See these 2, these 3, these 4 that I can count. Your background, which is generally optional, and a lot of people ignore the background feature anyway, but I like to put it on there. And then also your class. Now, I personally, I really like to order it in this fashion, where it goes race, because when you were born, you bore your race, and then your background, because that was before you became an adventurer, and then your class stuff, because that is when you are an adventurer. Moving over here, this is arguably one of the more important parts of the character, the ability scores. Hi, it's me from the future. I'm just here to tell you how to roll your scores. There's a thing called standard array, which I don't know off the top of my head because I always roll it. So I'm going to teach you how to roll it. First of all, you'll need 4 d6s. If you don't have 4 of them, 1 will do. Also, Google has, you can just type in like roll a d6 and it will do that, and it's a whole thing. But anyway, what you want to do is you roll 4d6 and then drop the lowest. So, for example, right there, we would drop 1. If there is 2 1s, you drop 1 of them. You don't drop both. So, you drop 1 of these dice, and that die is the lowest, which in this case is 1. So we have 6 plus 2 plus 4. That's our first stat. That is 12. And so how I like to do it is I will write them out and then cross out 1 and add them together. Don't worry, these are scratched out for me to remember which ones I had used when I was assigning them. Don't worry about it. Anyway, to reiterate, you roll 1d4, you remove the lowest, and then you add them together. And then your race grants you bonuses to those depending on your race. You should really look that up depending on what your race is, because I can't tell you and I don't want to tell you all of the races in this video. But yeah, that's how you roll stats. Anyway, take it away past me. Strength is very kind of self-explanatory. It is your strength, how strong you are, whether or not you'll be able to like push open a door, break something over your knee, bend a horseshoe in half, stuff like that. Punch somebody really, really hard in the face. Fun fact, the unarmed strike by default is 1 plus your strength modifier. So if you have a -1 or lower strength modifier, you will do 0 damage. Over here is Constitution, very important. This helps your health. Your health is determined by your class, as you can see right here. Bam. Class features 1d8 per druid level. I'm not a druid, I'm a sorcerer, so I get 1d6, as you can see in my hit dice. I don't freaking know what hit dice does. At level 1, which we are, your hit points are the full amount of whatever this thing says, which is 1d6 in my case, because I'm a sorcerer. And then you add your Constitution modifier to that. Other than that, your Constitution modifier in terms of, I kind of skipped dex, huh? We'll get to that in a second. Your Constitution modifier in terms of like roleplay and what your character is generally your Constitution is going to show how like healthy they look, how much they can withstand like disease, and also very important for a spellcaster, as you can see they have on save proficiency there, because you need that to maintain concentration on certain spells if you get hit or something like that. Moving up to dexterity, this decides lots of things, but also just generally how dexterous you are. It's useful for range, it's useful for melee. In most cases it's useful for range, although finesse weapons you can use either your strength or your dex, handy for rogues. Intelligence, self-explanatory, doesn't really decide a whole lot in terms of the rest of your character sheet. Wisdom, that is actually arguably, in my opinion, more useful than intelligence by itself, because it decides your insight, but also your wisdom perception. Your passive wisdom perception here is 10 plus your perception skill. Hi, it's Ivy from the future again. Useful to note is that since it is your perception skill specifically, if you are a rogue or a bard or anyone else who gets expertise, which just doubles your proficiency bonus for a particular skill, that applies. So you can have like +4 to your perception on top of your wisdom modifier, and that will apply to your wisdom passive wisdom perception, 10 plus your perception score. Anyway, which is very useful. Charisma, the Riz, if you will, is how good you are at speaking, and also generally like how you hold yourself as a person. By which I mean, like, if you have high charisma, you might exude a sense of like, I know what I'm doing, I'm supposed to be here kind of shit, if that makes any sense. Over here we have our skills. These are all basically a skill by default is your like, say your wisdom modifier for perception. In my case, I don't have proficiency, so I do not add my proficiency bonus. But for insight, I am proficient, which means I have my proficiency bonus of +2 at level 1. So as you can see, I have a 0 in wisdom, and I add 2 to my insight checks because I have proficiency in it. And then your initiative modifier is just your dex modifier, and there are certain feats and class abilities which increase your initiative modifier, which is why it's separate for the most part. Your armor class, if you're not wearing armor, like my sorcerer here, your armor class by default is 10 plus your dex. So pretty simple. Over here, this is mostly just like roleplay type of stuff, or just things to keep track of, like your allies, what your character looks like, additional features and traits, as you can see on the front. Treasure, you know, character backstory. If you want to write that all down on that page, you can. Also relevant physical description. Over here is one of the more important pages, especially for a spellcaster. In my case, my spellcasting ability is Charisma. So I will just put a color there. My spell save DC, I believe, is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your relevant skill ability score. So that would be, for me, 8 plus 2 plus 3, 13 is my spell save DC. So attack bonus, I want to say that's your proficiency bonus plus your, in my case, charisma modifier. So that would be, what is my 3? So plus 3 plus 2 is 5. So I get plus 5 to attack rolls with spells. Spellcasting class is Sorcerer. This sheet is relevant to, especially if you're multiclassing. So you don't share spell slots between two caster classes. If I were to multiclass into, say, Warlock, I would actually get, I would print out another of these sheets and I would staple it onto the back of my sheet. And then that would be the Warlock spell sheet. One final note here. This video is not going to be like fully comprehensive, but I am just going to try to cover as much of my bases as I can. Right here is your weapons and attacks and spellcasting. This is just a quick reference for your attacks and spellcasting. You don't put everything here. This is more so for like combat. So you would put, like, for example, a short sword, and your attack bonus would be, for short sword, that would be your strength modifier plus your proficiency bonus if you are proficient. So for me, that would be a total of 2. That's why I don't use short swords. And then the damage, which is, in the case of a short sword, 1d6 plus strength. Again, in my case, is 0. Strength modifier, that is. So that's why I don't use short swords. But that's an example. And the same goes for, like, you can put, like, firebolt or something over here. And you can just have your spell attack bonus as a quick reference in the firebolt listed on this area. Also, this is your equipment inventory. This is where you list some things you have if you can fit them. And this is very important. This is where your gold pieces go. And also any other stuff you have, including copper pieces, silver pieces, and these two you don't need to worry about. Gold pieces, copper pieces, silver pieces, that's what you worry about. Over here is your proficiencies and languages, where you put stuff that you can't fit on this area or isn't there. So, like, weapon proficiencies, languages, stuff like that. It's pretty fun. I like this game. That's it for now. I will maybe do a more in-depth thing later, but hopefully that helps.